then you have the I am presence, which would be basically this ball of light.
So I see the connected Buddhism and the I am teachings of Buddhism. It seems to be, I mean, as compared to any other kind of culture or any other kind of spiritual teaching, there seems to be Buddhism and I am teaching seems to have this connection. So what is that? Is there a reason for that? Or?
Well, you know, the I am teachings are really very new. It was given by Godfre Ray King in the 1930s. And he was a student of Theosophy. William Quan Judge, who was also a student of Madame Blavatsky, which all started around, I think, 1875 in New York City. And basically all of these paths that are prevalent today, these esoteric paths, stem back from Madame Blavatsky and the Theosophical Society. But those teachings, if you, I mean, I don't know how many people have read Isis Unveiled or The Secret Doctrine.
I've heard of it and opened it up and I was
yeah, I mean, they're very, very hard to read. Yeah, and so what Saint Germain has done is taken the essence and given it in very simple form. And there's a lot of that stuff you don't really need to know, but he's given the most important part of it, actually. Which is basically, actually, Godfrey didn't even really give the whole teaching back in the 30s because a lot of people, they didn't feel were ready to meditate then. And it was during the 1930s, and they wanted to really release the consciousness of I am, which is God in action. They didn't want people to be passive. It was like during the Depression, and people were depressed, and they thought, you know, you've got to encourage people to be active and to create a sense of abundance. And so what I've seen is even today, a lot of the Ascended Master groups don't really talk about how to realize God. It's all in create this, create that, affirm this, affirm that, like that movie, The Secret. You know, it's like create your own reality. Well, you know, you look at some of those people, and were they actually able to do that, or they did that at this time, but not in another time, where some of them created actually negative situations. They don't really, it doesn't really stress how to realize your own divinity. Once you realize that, you don't need to struggle to affirm these various things because you are it, you know. If you are it, you don't need to say, I am this, I am that, I'm creating this, I'm creating that, you know.
More a natural outcome.
Yeah. Yes.
As I recall in your book, you were ready to ascend at one point. Instead, you were guided to become a slumlord. What was the significance and meaning of that experience for you, becoming a slumlord and going through the process?
Well, I was very ungrounded. I mean, the whole teachings in India were, you know, just surrender, don't be attached to anything. You know, I went swimming in the Ganges and drank the water from the Ganges at the Kumbh Mela, and you know, when I came back to the West, wow, why are people so attached to stuff, you know? You know, getting a new car or whatever, you know, a new mate or new whatever, you know. And I was completely in this state of non-attachment. And and so I thought, why not just leave my body like this yogi in the Himalayas that I had stayed with? And that's when Saint Germain appeared and said, there's still things to learn. Well, I saw the suffering on the earth, so I just said, I want to come back and help people. And then he said, well, if you're going to help people, you need training first. So he sent me to Mount Shasta to study with Pearl. So part of that training was to learn certain lessons. One of them was to be responsible, you know, on the earth plane. And part of that was learning to say no. You know, just because when you're in the New Age thing, it's like, oh, you want to just please everybody, make everybody happy, and, you know, it's all love and light, and we're all one big happy family, and so on. But the reality is sometimes you need to be able to say no, or have boundaries. It's actually the boundaries that help people work together. Like that poem by Robert Frost, "Good fences make good neighbors." It's like, I respect your boundary, I ask you to respect my boundary, you know. So it's some basic lessons I needed to learn about that. Being a landlord was a really good way to learn those things.
Very grounding, yeah.
Grounding. I mean, I went from just being, you know, a yogi wandering around in oneness to, you know, having to learn accounting and work with lawyers and building contractors and tenants that didn't pay their rent or that trashed my places, and, you know, how do I deal with all these things, you know? So being a landlord was like a crash course. So, yeah, keeping my word. I forgot what all the things were. Being able to say no and being financially responsible. Those are all spiritual lessons that you learn them on the earth plane, you know, but they carry over to higher dimensions. So, you know, being here in a human body is really a crash course. If you look at it, this is a spiritual lesson. Being here, even dealing with mundane things. I don't care what you're doing, whether you're a stockbroker or a garbage collector or, you know, whatever it is, an artist. You're getting it, it's in your face. If you can see it, you can see that every moment what you're doing is wanting to teach you something.